Welcome to the Connected Yoga Teacher Podcast, episode 24. Today is part 2 of our 5-part mini-series on the Koshas. And it's all about the Pranamaya Kosha today. The Connected Yoga Teacher was created so that you can easily have access to knowledge, inspiration, and a community of supportive yoga teachers. On the podcast, we hear about a variety of topics from yoga teachers, but also other professionals. After I left my first 200-hour yoga teacher training, I felt like I was alone in the wilderness of yoga entrepreneurship. And I quickly discovered that being a yoga teacher wasn't all about the planning and teaching of yoga classes. Maybe you feel this way also. And I felt like the business side of things needed a lot of focus, a lot more than I knew, on top of continuing to learn, to teach, and to plan. With the consulting work that I do, I was hearing the same struggle from other teachers. This is where the Connected Yoga Teacher was born. This is a place where you can feel connected as a yoga teacher between the teacher trainings, classes, and workshops that you are taking. I teach weekly private and group yoga classes, so I'm right here with you, dealing with the challenges that every yoga teacher faces. I'm also a mother of 3. I love my work, and at the same time, I value my time spent with my partner, family, friends, and self, away from my yoga business. At the end of today's episode, I'm really excited to talk with you about some of the niche work that I do. I'm going to share one piece of that and also talk about an online workshop that you'll want to take part in if you're not really sure what your yoga niche is. This workshop is designed to help you to map out your unique qualities so that you can see what your yoga niche is. This is so that you're not trying to serve all populations and having low class numbers, instead really focusing in, niching down, standing out in the yoga world. In the show notes for this episode, you're going to find a couple of helpful images as well as the link to the full Koshas PDF, so that you can take this information with you to share it in a yoga class, workshop, or retreat. I've made the PDF so that it's just a quick summary of the points that I'm making throughout this 5-part mini-series. You can go and get it all right now. You can follow along. If you missed last week's Kosha, make sure to go back and check that out. If you're teaching the 5 Koshas in any way, I would love to hear about it. Send me a voicemail or an email. You can leave me a voicemail from the Connected Yoga Teacher homepage. Just go to theconnectedyogateacher.com or send me an email. My email address is shannon@theconnectedyogateacher.com. So let's dive in to the Pranamaya Kosha. Last week, we covered the Annamaya Kosha, the physical body. This week is the Pranamaya Kosha. This is the second layer in the Kosha model. It still is in the more measurable, modifiable realm. Is that a word? Modifiable. Sometimes I make up my own words, as Rob knows, our audio editor. So we can measure it more, we can modify it more, similar to the Annamaya Kosha, that physical layer that we talked about last week. So this Pranamaya Kosha, this layer, governs the energetic or subtle body. This is where we look at the breath and the movement of the physical body. Not the physical body itself, but the movement of it. The Pranamaya Kosha is composed of prana. Prana is the life force energy, also known as qi in Chinese medicine. So where is the Pranamaya Kosha? The Pranamaya Kosha can also be defined as the life force energy prana within the Annamaya Kosha. So let's back that up. It's the prana, that life force energy within the physical body. It's said to be located at the third eye, the head, and the chest, because it's also related to the aura, or this space around the body. It's not simply contained within the physical body, because our aura expands out beyond the body. So this is where we get back into that, not defining these lines like this is the first layer, and then here is the second layer. to step away a little bit more from our anatomy-loving sides and to look at the layers as though they move into each other. So to add another piece onto this, the prana is then said to be divided into various forms called the vayus. They're prana, apana, samana, udana, and vyana. Yogic texts also tell us that prana moves via the nadis. So these are the energy pathways to the chakras. Probably you're familiar with the chakras, these spinning energy centers that collect, transform, and distribute the energy. This might be harder to grasp because we can't see the vayus, chakras, or nadis, not even with an X-ray. If a visual helps you, I have a couple of pictures to share in the show notes. And the first one's pretty amazing. I remember seeing this in my first 200-hour yoga teacher training, thanks to Sat Dharamkar. It shows the 72,000 nadis, or energy lines, and the three main ones, the Ida, the Pingala, and the Sushumna nadis. So if you're just out of a yoga teacher training, or if you're really familiar with these things, this might seem like, yeah, those are the basics. If this is all new to you, just know, we just take little bits at a time. The second photo that I'm going to share with you shows these a little bit more, the Ida, Pingala, Sushumna, and it also shows you the chakras in there as well. I could do many more podcasts just on the vayus, chakras, and nadis, but today we're just going to stick to the basics of the Pranamaya Kosha. I do find it fascinating to learn all the aspects of yoga philosophy, like I would a new posture or a breath practice. Then I take that, I filter it through my own yoga practice and my own belief system. And I would really encourage you to do the same. Even while you're listening to me today, take in what fits for you, leave what doesn't. Okay, so what does the Pranamaya Kosha, how does it benefit us? Breath is really said to be the link for body, mind, and spirit. For me, this translates to this conscious control of breath, or pranayama element of yoga. And this is what sets yoga apart from other forms of exercise. I also noticed that with my yoga practice and the awareness of movement and breath it brings, it transfers out to the other things that I do. For example, I can easily connect with my breath and be aware of how my body moves when I'm out walking, when I've used that same practice in yoga. As long as I don't have too many things on my mind when I bring myself back to that present moment. So you might try that yourself if you're out walking now. Noticing the breath automatically triggers us to not only lengthen the breath, but to make sure it's actually happening. Of course, our breath is automatic, but sometimes we hold the breath or we allow it to become really shallow, barely there. For a moment here, relax your jaw, your shoulders, lengthen the spine, and feel your rib cage move with your breath. Notice how on the inhale, the rib cage expands like an umbrella. And on the exhale, how that umbrella of the rib cage closes back towards each other. When we become aware of this breath, like I said, we lengthen it, we equalize it. Inhale and notice the count of the inhale. Then exhale and notice the count of the exhale. When we start to lengthen that exhale, this stimulates the parasympathetic nervous system, that relaxation response, quieting the sympathetic nervous system, that fight or flight response. We also are able to build up our capacity of breath and the awareness of it. We can notice if the breath is slow and steady or choppy and quick. When we come into this state of relaxation, the breath is relaxed. If we're in a place of stress or tension, even a good place, for example, holding a challenging yoga pose or giving a joyful speech at a friend's wedding, We can use the breath to let the body know that all is okay. There actually is no saber-toothed tiger chasing us. Pranayama also energizes the entire system. You may notice when you leave a yoga class, you feel better than when you got there. Often we feel a deepened sense of self and stillness. In Shavasana, you might notice that euphoric, natural buzz feeling. This is your chi or your prana, the life force energy, moving freely. Another benefit of using breath with movement is that it helps us to prepare for the stillness of meditation. Try a little experiment. The next time you sit in meditation, try doing it before you do any movement or breath. And just note, how was that? Then try doing some movement with breath and follow that by meditation. I'd like to just share a little story here. A lot of yoga classes that I have been to kind of follow this structure of getting in, settling in some way. Maybe there's an introduction, maybe there isn't, maybe there's a breath practice. You do your yoga poses, then at the end of the class, there's the relaxation. Then you sit up and everyone says goodbye. In the Kundalini tradition, which is what I first studied with Satdharm Kaur in Toronto, we learned in the Kundalini tradition to do the yoga, do Shavasana, then come up to sitting in meditation. So I would invite you to try this in your own practice. Really become the scientist for your own body and mind. How can you get into that meditative state? Get to know what works best for you. Notice with the breath practice, if you're sitting in a class or you're playing an online class and you feel like you're holding the breath and it's not helping you, let that go. Same thing with your students. Invite them to let that go. This helps you to create a personalized yoga practice. So with this Pranamaya Kosha, really start to become aware of your breath and become aware of that breath in your yoga practice, outside of your yoga practice. A great way to do this is to invite movement in. So say on the inhale, the next inhale, you raise the left hand up slightly, and on the exhale, you lower that hand down. Doesn't matter how high the hand goes. Next inhale, then the right hand raises up until the end of the inhale, and then on the exhale, it lowers down. When we match that movement with the breath, we become super aware. We become that, like I said, scientist for our own body. Alrighty, connected yoga teachers, that closes out our second layer of the koshas today. I still want to let you know about the online niche workshop that is coming up in September. If you're listening in live time, it's September 13th, 20th, 27th of 2017. Each day of the online workshop is an hour and a half. There is a replay, but there's a big incentive for attending live if possible. Each call is an hour and a half. There's an hour of niche work that we do together, and then 30 minutes of Q&A. So this is an online workshop for yoga teachers who want to look at what their unique style of yoga, that yoga niche is. Students connect with teachers who have a really clear and focused message and a passion for what they're teaching. So to get into a little bit, if you can attend the workshop, or maybe you can or you can't, I'm just going to share one thing that I always start with, and that's this curiosities, passions list, and skills and expertise list. So take a piece of paper, divide that piece of paper down the middle. On the left-hand side, you're going to put curiosity/passion at the top of that page. And on the right-hand side, I'd like you to write skills/expertise. There's a lot more to this list, but slowly over 5 days, you're going to collect what you're curious about, what you're passionate about on that one side, on that left side, and then write down what your skills and expertise are on the other side. Now we define this even more as we go through the course, but that's one thing to just start to look at for yourself. This was pulled from some work by John Lee Dumas, who is a podcaster who I listened to a long time ago. And this is the way the niche workshop was put together. I basically would hear something from one podcast or read a book or read an article on defining niche and put it into practice for myself. Then I took the things that really worked and put them together into a workshop. If you are wanting to sign up for that workshop, go to theconnectedyogateacher.com, click on courses. You can find out more information on that there. Also, make sure you're on our email list because an email is going out with a discount coupon for those on our email list. Okay, Connected Yoga Teachers, I am getting ready and packed here to go away with my daughter for a couple of days to a piano camp, and I'm super excited. I am avoiding packing because I like to leave that to the very last minute, and it's more fun to hang out with you. So have a fantastic week. Stay connected to each other, stay connected to your practice, to yourself, and share the yoga that lights you up.